Hello guys, today's subject, as you guessed, is shield. And I choose this subject because many times friends showed me different videos on the web that weren't very sufficient, and most of the time based themselves on video games. That wasn't exactly the right way to go, especially if you want to understand what a shield is. I don't pretend that this video will be like the ultimate video about shields and nothing could be added at all, no. I'm just here to bring you something once again more down to the ground and much more realistic on the approach, on the way I see things, and actually it's what I learn also through my years at work, my years studying and reading about ancient times. So, without further ado, let's start with those shields. I see most of the time people making different category, mostly about the different shapes of the shields, but the shape won't be the only thing that matter here. And I do believe that the best way to break things down is to also be able to categorize them by something simple at the beginning. And if you start with shapes, well, you just start with what is the thing that changed the most actually, because you will have right at the beginning so many categories, and that will not help you to understand the dynamic and the use of the different shields and their interests. So the point will be to focus on the way you use them and the way you carry them. So there is, if you want to make things simple, just two kinds of shields. One kind with straps around here, the forearm most of the time, and one kind with a handle that you will just grip in one hand without any other support on your forearm or on your body. Let's just start with the one with the handle. Here you have a shield, a boss set which haven't been equipped with a Jumbo, the boss in the center. In fact, I removed it, and that way you can see that there is nothing to cover the end if you carry it that way. You see my hand easily, and that easily you will be hit on the end. So the handle is just a fixed bar there. Most of the time it's made out of wood, or sometimes made out of material like iron or other metal, and the handle will help you to have some specific dynamics depending then on the way the shield have been made. So this is a classical shape for the IMA practitioner, and you know how it works easily. It's something that you will use forward. Is to use forward, you see, in order to cover much more of the body, to create that way to maximize the protection you create, because as much as you go forward toward your opponent with the shield, it becomes then harder for him to hit you because you cover much more of the angle. So you see there, and it comes also with the sword, and it's just the thing that will cover your hand in order to avoid to be cut on the end, because with just a cut on the end the fight could be over. So this is something that you will have to project in front of you, your shield, in order to protect your hand. But it also help you to do other things. We know that you can, with the handle there, also make some armbar, even block and catch your opponent's sword. In some treaties we see that. But this is something we know for dueling, mostly for sport. This shield, the Celt shield, is something that could be used exactly, well, not exactly, but in the same basic dynamics than we saw before. You just use it to push forward and cover your body. See? It's easy to realize how much it covers me. You can still know where is your opponent and move it like that. And the same way, you will use it to cover your hand there. And you will use a sword. That could be used that way. And exactly the same way also with a spear. And then, yes, it comes back. It's something that requires a lot of strength in the arm, and especially in the shoulder. Actually, shoulder and a good back is required to be able to hold the shield in front of you like this. But it's very, very effective, and can really block a lot, and that's also simple to produce. Yes, there is something you can also do with a shield that have an handle, or also with other shields, we'll see, is that you can use the bottom edge there to directly hit your opponent with it. But as you see that the point of balance is right in my hand, I don't have to force on anything to keep it flat in front of me, because it's flat and the handle is in the middle, so of course it'll stay that way. If you just twist a bit here your wrists, you will see that you can have the shield following your arm, and you can directly hit the opponent. Well, as it's not really balanced for that, I do not think that it would be very, very clever to use it in a fight, because once again my experience with Acta showed me that this shield is better used like this, to block, parry, hide, than just using to hit someone. This like some sort of helps for the percussion, for the bashing. Another kind of shield that could have an handle is something like the Roman used, the scutum-like shield. Well, what you need is simply to have a handle right in the middle, and to have something which would be curved. See? And yes, that shape ain't historical at all. It's a fantasy shield I did many years ago for an elf character. But the point is that even if it's not historical in its whole shape, it's exactly the same dynamic as the shields you will see for the gladiators, like the Momio, the Secutor, the large shield with boss in the middle, handle behind, and curved. The curve bring the point of balance behind the handle, a bit behind, and then let the shield just come back all by itself. So this shield is designed to be used that way. Then it becomes stupid to try to force it flat in front of you like this. It hasn't been designed that way. If you wanted it to make something like that, yeah, you just do a flat shield like here for the Gallish one, and then when you want something curved, it's simply to be able to bash, to keep a distance with you and your opponent, and even cover yourself behind it, like that. To give you an idea about dynamic on the side, use your shield in front of you, like this. Perhaps use it with a spear. If it's a scutum, a Roman scutum, well, you could use your pilum that way, holding it up over your head in order to throw it directly at your opponent. So it's also something you will see for the Greeks, this position, and also in some medieval representation you will have spearmen like this. You can use it, change, switch, like that. And the shield, just here to cover face. Of course, when you have a helmet, you can even stuck your head against the shield, boom, to block, and you come back, you're able to hit. So another kind of shield that you may know is the Viking kind. It's flat, round, and of course it has a handle in the middle. This allows it to be used like you can do with a Celt shield, but the good thing is that as it's round, you can do it whenever you want, and even turning your wrist there, it will provide the same protection. You can also, if you want, like you do also with the Roman shield, or you can try also with the Celt, even if I don't recommend, to hit your opponent with it. And as you can turn the handle at will without covering differently your body, and you see with the painting there that my shield is turning and it still provides the same protection. Just you won't be able to perform the same things depending on the way you handle your shield. And if you want to hit that way, you have to have it with a horizontal grip. If you use it in a diagonal grip there, you can use it also to directly hit someone in front of you, just like that. And it could be used also to make it turn around you in order to move around the shield, also with different weapon you can have in that way. That way you will have something which have a good dynamic. Could be also kinda heavy to carry around when you have a large shield like this. It starts to be a bit heavy, but you can have some a bit smaller in size. And there the disadvantage is that when you start to see, perhaps to evaluate where the handle could be on your opponent, you can easily hook his shield with, if you have something like an axe there. and you can hook the shield, and that way you see you can really pull it on one side, and if you are alone you can use it then to enter in your opponent's distance and perhaps hit him, but even better if you are with a teammate, which will probably be the case. One could hook and the other can use this opening in order to hit directly the opponent. And teamwork, yeah, could be very handy in this kind of situation. This is something that moves easily around your body, can be quite good alone and in group as well. Here you have basically the same idea, the same shape, you see, but it's smaller, and there's not much difference there. The only thing that you have to notice is that at the back I built straps as well, and that will help me to show you a bit about how a shield can be exactly the same shape but can't be exactly the same in the dynamics you will have with it. As we saw before, yes, with the handle in front of you, push forward, there, make it turn, like this. It's already much easier with a smaller one, and once again the idea is to use the edge anytime to cover your hand, which come forward, and when you want to use this kind of shape with the straps there, it changed a lot. First of all, it became nearly impossible to hook the shield. If you hold it there, it's not that easy to hook it. If you have just there the handle, it's easy to make it turn. There, you can make it turn one side or another. Here, even you have to be on the side there to create a bit of leverage in order to make your opponent's shield turn. In front there, pushing won't do much. Here you can block that way. Well, if you push, of course, you have there some leverage on the external side of the shield, where behind the elbow. In fact, if you want to have the optimal leverage, it have to be behind the elbow of your opponent there, and then you can open it. Yes. And once more with straps, yes, you can directly hit your opponent with the brim there, and you can sometimes also, if you're able, catch the opponent's weapon if it's possible. Always risky there. And this is once again something I made which is fantasy based, but the idea is to show you once again about dynamics and how the fact that it's historical or not won't exactly change if it's something that could be used correctly or not. Yeah, that one I've been built for Aerodream character, and if you want to see it in action, there is several duels on my channel. The Greek Hoplon. It's a lenticular shield, which means that it's shaped like a lens. See? There. Right in the middle, here, you have a band made out of metal that will support the weight right in your forearm there, and you have a strap there on your left hand. That will be used most of the time with a spear, and you can see how much it covers, especially with you have when you have with you all the equipment, leg guard, chin guard there, the helmet, that become very protective, very effective. But it's a shield that will be most effective in a group, because right in the middle here you have the strap, but on the side here, if you push, you have a lot of leverage there, and it's easy to open by pushing there. This is why you have to have your comrades aside of you, and every shield will come and cover the comrade's shield one over the other, layering that way, in order for the strong part, which is at your right there, to cover the weak part of your partner. That will be right at your right, but his left will be the weak part, and you come over it, cover it, and that way you create a real shield wall, a proper one, the one we know that were used in a specific kind of warfare. Because when you study Greek warfare, when you start to read about it, you understand that it's not like a free-for-all. It's something that have been decided and that have been planned before, in order to make it. It's nearly like if two team of one sport, one specific sport, decided to meet on one specific ground to battle to the point where one said it's enough, we surrender. And that's basically Greek warfare for you, because you can go free for all with the kind of equipment they were carrying, in the kind of terrain, the kind of grounds all over Greece. That's no way. To continue with the same shape, the lenticular shape, you will have something there that I haven't finished yet, which have been based on the Oriental kind of shield you could find with the Turks and all, and it have lots of straps behind, straps in order to carry it like you did with the Hoplon, if you want there, straps in order to let you use it with one arm in, and also using your two arms for a spear, and that will mean also with another strap that I haven't built yet on it, in order to go around your chest, in order to carry it on the side. And you can also use it in front of you, like we did for other shield before, to create more protection, like this, with the straps right in the middle there. And the very first shield I presented was a boss here, used for dueling, which was flat with a handle, but you have the same, well, not exactly the same, but the equivalent in the Oriental world, where you have a shield which would be lenticular in shape, once again, shape of a lens, and will have straps at the back, straps, but that will give the same use as you will have with a boss, in order to cover the end that goes forward with the blade. You have some representation of this, and this is how I made it. And for the fun fact, there is a tutorial on my channel for making this kind of shield with some IKEA furnitures, if you want to look. It's pretty simple to do, actually. So it goes the same way, you see. Sometimes, in fact, yes, straps could provide nearly the same use as a handle, but that's really rare. And let's finish with the round shields with that Targe here, which is something you will find for the specific design for the 18th century, for the Jacobites rises, and this Targe is something you will use to cover so yourself by bringing it forward, pushing it that way, with sword, a basket sword, so you will have a basket around your hand, so there is less chances for you to be cut on the end because of that. And you can also use it with a dirk in your Targe end. And yes, I use it again with the point up. If you want there is a video about why I do believe that the dirk should be used sometimes with the point up, like that. Once more, the shield is something dynamic. You notice that whatever the kind of way you would carry it, it's something that have to be dynamic. It don't have to be just stuck in front of you like this. If you want to make it effective, you have to use your arm, which is carrying the shield, and most of the time it's the left arm, in a dynamic way in order to cover yourself and to work with your right arm as well. And that's something that it's very important. Most of the time what I dislike when I see shield work, especially when you are looking at movies, it's that it's so ineffective. It's behind the guy or flat on them. It's a mess, a real mess. But yeah, it requires a lot of strength most of the time in the left arm to use properly the shield. So this kind of Targe have also been used before the Jacobite wars. We are sure that there was some also during the classical era of the Middle Ages, which is about, for make it simple, 12th, 13th century, if you want to make it brief. And on that shield, I also added a strap there. The strap isn't used there for help in the way you use it for fighting in the dynamic. It would be for the classical Middle Ages or the Jacobite era. But these straps we'll see later that could be handy where there is larger shields with handle. Not handle, but straps like this. Let's continue with some fantasy again. This shield, well, is a fantasy design that I made for my terrain, and the straps here have been put in a way that I could use the shield in front of me and be able to bash my opponent easily like that. It's something that won't cover much of my head. It didn't make it easy to cover the head, but as I was on stilts and just using it for performs, not like real live fights, it wasn't a problem. But I do believe that there is a point here that you have to admit that your design isn't good enough, and for what I did, it was good in order that I can put my shield, the bottom part of my shield on the ground in order to rest a bit, because on stilts it wasn't easy to walk around that much. It required a lot of energy, and this is when you see that the design have been changed in order to help me use stilts and not exactly fight. First time I made this, there were straps there at the top here, but it wasn't dynamic enough for me. But well, the point is that yes, you can make mistakes, and I do believe that when you design a shield, a fantasy shield, you have to admit that it has to serve the proper purpose for your fighter. And here we have a point where I don't believe it's a good enough idea there on the long run, and that this shield could be better with a proper strapping here, much more like yeah, let's say a Norman kind of shield with straps there. That way, yes, perhaps it would be a better idea. So even if it's fantasy, it's important to get back to what have been used in history, because in history, you know, guys have to fight for their lives. So no kidding around. You don't come out with some fancy stupidities most of the time. You stick to something that will be practical. And this is here what I want to illustrate, that you can try something fantasy, but don't go over the top. Don't go in a territory that won't be helpful for you in the long run. And here you have basically, you see, the two shapes are nearly the same, but the straps aren't the same. You have here at my right the same strapping I did for the fantasy shield behind, and that is something you have on some specific shield in medieval ages, and you see it a lot in board and full contact medieval fight. That way you can use the shield to bash directly your opponent, and this is what they do most of the time. They just use on one side a weapon or falchion most of the time, and on the other a shield like that, and they just go right, left, right at the opponent. Well, I make things simple. I know there is a lot of things that could be involved as well, but well, not here to argue about that. So this is something that could be used that way, yes, but keep in mind that it's pretty ineffective to have a shield that you use like that if you don't have enough armor on you, because by doing this you open yourself a lot to any kind of spears or halberd, or even just javelins, anything on your body. You are pretty open, and you have a much more classical way to carry a shield here, which is horizontal. Isn't exactly horizontal, it's a diagonal that you have to create, and this shield is much closer to the one you will see at the end of the 14th century. It's not exactly a good size. It should be at least, I guess, 20 centimeter. Yeah, higher. 20 centimeter higher could be. Yeah, with 20 centimeter more, you could be, yes, at a good size for the 14th century. This is a bit short actually. And when I told you that fantasy could be very realistic if you put the effort into it, some of you might recognize there the Gondorian crest from Warcraft. And I made those shields for a fan film that you can find on the channel. There is a fan film concerning Warcraft and Lordaeron. And those shields, I wanted them to be realistic, to be good looking, yes, but also realistic. also because I use them for fight too, and there is also videos about that kind of fight on the channel. I'll let you check out. Here what you will notice is diagonal there on the shield. The straps are in diagonal. Well, actually it will be much easier with a gambazon. It has been designed to be wear with a gambazon. This is why also these straps here, you see the gauge, which could help you to support the weight of the shield. The weight there isn't much effective right now because I'm just in a t-shirt, but when you have a gambazon and the armor, especially on the shoulder, you then become much bigger and larger, and this length have been designed in order to carry it that way with the gambazon and the armor. So here it's not as practical as it should be. And also a thing that I noticed after several uses is that create a simple handle there is not always the good way to go. I'll show you later. You won't carry it glued to your chest like that, because if you want to hit at the front, the forearm will be exposed, and this is why you have to push the bottom part up in order to see you pull toward your face, your right hand, right arm, and you push there with the sword. This is basically how you do it. Could be the same on the front. And this is possible because of the strapping. If you strap it like you see in most of the video games, and most also the time when you see in Hollywood, in movies, they strap it with an horizontal grip, but it's just horrible. Even just to carry it in front of you like this, like they always do, like that, which whatever. It's not even effective to do that. Yeah, it's much better to have this angle there, and actually this is the angle that was on the shield you could find during the classical medieval ages, and also the end of the Middle Ages as well. So this is something you have to consider once again when you are making a shield. And also you can use the bottom part here sometimes to block some movement from your opponent, and that way it has again to be dynamic. And once more, in front of you, you can still use it to bash your opponent's face in with the brim there. There's no problem in it. You can do it, and you can always switch from one movement to another. Once again, it's not because there is straps there and that it's a shield which is a bit flatter, that it's have to be dull and don't move at all, just stay in front of you. Not at all. A shield, I insist on this, will always be something dynamic. It's a weapon. It's not a piece of armor. A piece of armor is on your body, it doesn't move. The shield is a weapon, it have to be used that way. It's dynamic, and it's something that have to help you during the fight, and you have to move it around you. And the last shield I present you is a design that I made for my Gondorian army. It's not yet completely finished, and I will provide you with a tutorial for this shield. And in fact, I have many tutorials on my channel to create shields, so if you're interested in shields, well, that could be the place. This shield is very curved, as you can perhaps notice. There. It covers very well your body. And with a helmet, it's really easy to just cover completely your body and to close the openings for your opponent to catch you behind your shield. The design here was inspired by medieval ages. Again, you can recognize shapes, even if it's not exactly an historical shape. My idea was to make something that was very defensive and help this army that is at the front line for ages, facing countless enemies. When you are reading the books, well, I personally imagine that this army would have think how to nearly lost no soldier when you have to bring the army out, because there is so much threat and you have to lose so few soldiers. Well, even if it's exactly the same idea for everyone in history, I want to emphasize this idea, and well, I'll do a whole video about the Gondor in order to explain it. But the idea is once again to give it a proper dynamic, something that will be very useful for the soldiers. And it's really like the shield you can find in, once again, classical Middle Ages. When you are looking at footmen, they have something very covering like that, and they can hide behind them. It's very important in order to, once again, be safe in a fight. In a fight, you always have to think about your health, and if you're gonna make it in the end. It's not about killing people. If you die in the process, what's good in that? The idea is to survive when you are in a fight, to survive, and then inflict as most damage to the opponent. But first, you have to survive. And this is why shields are so important. This is why it's really a shame that they haven't been properly represented in the world of fiction, of mainstream media as well. This shield, to come back on it, is exactly like you saw before with the Lordaeron one, except that I haven't put yet the straps here to come around the chest. That would have been very helpful, because this one is heavier than the other one, because the size again. And like we saw before, this shield, we'll move it around it by putting up to protect your hand. See? There. And yeah, it's really huge, but it's effective for what I wanted. And the sword will be, in fact, a secondary weapon in that case. I imagine guys like this in a line, spears coming up and out. And once again, you can use it like bricks did, and you have, in fact, classical Middle Ages representation of foot soldiers, just like that. And you can switch from one grip to another. And once again, if you want to cover more of your hand, you can with the shield by just pushing with the elbow, pulling with the hand, pushing with the elbow. And if you want also a representation of how this kind of shield could be used in a group. I have several videos for you. There is videos about the Gondor and what I believe could be one of their way to perform as a group, as foot soldiers. And there is also a video concerning the work I do with Acta in the Chateau of Beaucaire, and you will see there 13th century footmen, the infantry, in a group fight and also in group formations, and that could also show you what could be done with this kind of equipment. I think this is all I have to say for today about shields. There is a lot that could be also brought to the table, because all the shield, all the range of possibility of shields in history, and also if you want to also dig in the fantasy interpretation, there is a lot that could be said, but I do expect this to be a beginning, and I will come back on that subject. That matter is really something that interests me, and that have been really underused and underestimated in the use we have of the shields. It's something that's so many times it's just secondary, when in fact most of the time it's the main thing that determines just how a civilization or a guy will fight. It's not that he has a sword or a spear, but most of the time what makes the little difference is the shield, nothing more, nothing less. And the shield is something that made such an important impact in the European culture, in the European warfare as well. If you start to just read about it, take a bit of interest into it, you will see how much it left. Even you see, even now comics and movies are just using shields, even if it's not exactly what we will have in warfare today, but it's something that you will see in video games a lot, and most of the time, once again, it haven't been properly used. This is why I won't stop there, and I will produce shields for my different costumes, and I do believe that I will provide you every time with a tutorial about how I made them, and also I will probably once again make videos about the costume and the dynamic of the equipment, how I developed it for both my historical costumes and both my fantasy and cosplay related costumes. So if you're interested in that, there is plenty that will coming in the future. Would be like 13th century for sure, will be stuff about the Legend of Zelda, perhaps For Honor, well, you name it. I hope this has been interesting for you, and I wish you a good day.